Greetings and salutations, folks. Another year, another heartbreak in the Crossroads Classic for Indiana basketball. This time at the hands of Notre Dame, unfortunately. Irish come out on top 79-72. We're here with IUSC postgame. Pierce Cavanaugh, Will Chuckerman, and Sean Nash. The entire contingent making the road trip. And unfortunately, not for anything positive.
No, it was not a strong showing from this Indiana team, and a lot of the talk post-game was about the empty offensive possessions, just the offense not working. I tend to lean on the defense really not being there, and the defense has been good throughout the season, but tonight, or I should say this afternoon into tonight, just really you didn't see much of it, and I think a huge blow to this team was allowing Jerry and Grant that wide-open three at the end of the half to put Notre Dame up by 5. Indiana was, of course, able to get it back down to a single-possession game, but those are inexcusable plays, and Indiana would have had a lot of momentum going into the half.
Indiana did hold Notre Dame to just 33% outside, which I thought if they would have done that, if you'd have told me that before the game, I would have said IU would have won this game, holding Notre Dame as good of a shooting team as they are. But again, inside, Sherman was able to do whatever he wanted. I think he only missed one shot tonight. And Grant was able to basically do whatever he wanted, as you mentioned, hitting that shot towards the end of the first half. So defensively it was a mixed bag, and offensively I'd say the same thing. There were a lot of possessions where I would just rotate the ball around the perimeter and not really go inside at all. Didn't utilize Vonleh at all, only scoring 8 points tonight. So some good things to take away from this game, but again, a lot of bad, and obviously the loss makes it even worse.
They never led. There were 0 leads for Indiana in this game. They had it tied twice, both of them early in the second half. And really, when you take a look at the numbers, the defense you said was a mixed bag. The offense, 41% from the floor, 35% from three, which isn't bad. But there's no reason for them to take 2 more threes than Notre Dame. And for them to have taken 9 more shots and shot 41% from the floor, you can't take 9 more shots and make 1 more three and out-rebound Notre Dame and to come out with a loss. It just can't work like that. Is this something that's concerning going forward against a Notre Dame team who would be middle of the pack, to put it politely, in the Big Ten Conference this year?
Yeah, it is concerning because obviously Notre Dame has fallen off from their preseason ranking with the losses to Indiana State and North Dakota State earlier this week. Again, Sheehey was productive with 22 points, but again, do you want him shooting 4 threes out there, especially when he's only going to make 1 of them? Yogi, a lot of times, again, wouldn't even pass off the ball and would just fire up a 3 that wouldn't fall for him. Again, those are things this team needs to correct, and obviously the turnovers. Once again, they limited it to only 13 this time, but they came at more crucial times in this game. 2 or 3 down the stretch when IU had a chance to maybe cut it to a 1-point game or even tie it back up with just a couple minutes left.
And I was surprised personally. You talk about they were only tied twice, they never led, but they were down by 1, 2, multiple times in that second half, and they just couldn't seem to put that extra possession together. And it's strange to see that with some of the veterans they have on this team, like a Will Sheehey, like an Evan Gordon, they couldn't just put 3 possessions together in a row to get a lead back, to do something like that. And Notre Dame was able to play a pretty solid defense, not allowing Indiana much, but just you didn't get enough consistency on the offensive end, because if you did get that, and there were times in the second half where you said, oh, Indiana's starting to play better basketball, but then they turn it over, then they miss a shot, they don't pass enough on a possession. There were just a couple of problems that didn't let Indiana get back in it and take the lead.
Both teams now 8-3. Indiana with those 8 wins against the top of that mark is Stony Brook and Washington. If those are your competition for quality wins, it's not trending in the right direction, and they've only got 2 more of these before they go into the conference play. You're looking probably at 10-3 now, unless something disastrous happens, which is unlikely. You're 10-3 going into the Big Ten. You got 18 games. You got to win probably 11 of them to make the tournament, with 1 or 2 really good wins thrown in there. Tom Crean said at the start of the year that he was being patient with this team. He seemed patient today. Where are you seeing Indiana going forward?
It's weird now that we're at this point in the season, because I think before it started, a lot of people would have said, they probably would have lost these 3 games. Notre Dame, we thought, was going to be a much more solid team than they've shown so far this season. I think they're still a pretty good team. They've just been pretty inconsistent. But looking back at it, I think we would have said, and if we would have bet on that Indiana would probably be 10-3 going in to the Big Ten Conference schedule. But They've lost to some good teams, and that's the thing where people do have to look and say it's not like they've dropped games to inferior opponents, and that's something that you can hang your hat on. I'm trying to take the glass half full approach to this because, like we've talked about, Stony Brook and Washington being your two best wins right now, that's not going to get the job done. So you are going to have to pick up play in the Big Ten Conference, and we've seen teams already at Michigan State, Wisconsin, Ohio State. This is going to be another season where the top of the Big Ten is very tough. The middle of the pack gives you a tough game night in and night out. So they're really going to have to scratch and claw for those extra wins if they want to get them.
And quick, Sean, before we go to you, the thing that Will said, I want you to expand on because it's true that they're 0-3 against good teams, but that goes for their entire season. They've played 3 good teams, and they've lost to all 3 of them. Now, UConn and Syracuse are both in the top 10, top 15 in the country throughout the year. Notre Dame is not. Notre Dame is not a top 25 team. It's unlikely that they're going to be a top 25 team for most of the year. And they didn't lead today. I think that says about all you need to say. How much of a factor is lack of experience, lack of big game experience, and real game experience with this young Indiana team?
Well, Tom Crean mentioned it after the game. He thought a few of the guys the big lights kind of affected them a little bit. Obviously, the players are going to deflect anything like that. But it's true. Notre Dame is a very mature team. A lot of older guys on this team, a lot of seniors. Just one junior on the team. Con Hodden's the only junior. But again, all you've got is Sheehey. Farrell's a sophomore, and Gordon, it's his first year in the Cream and Crimson as well. So you kind of can't. I mean, yeah, he's a grad student, but again,
it's hard to adjust from Liberty to ASU to Indiana.
Exactly. So I think more of the original question, I think we'll have a more clear answer in 2 weeks from now, depending on how IU comes out when they've got Michigan State, top 5 team at home. They don't necessarily have to win that game, but if they can keep a close game like this, if they have the same kind of result like this where they're in it till the final couple possessions, I think that'll speak a lot more for this team going forward rather than this loss, Will, because obviously Will mentioned all the opponents they have in the Big Ten. They've got 12 opportunities for big wins to go on those resumes.
So NIT, NCAA, are we thinking a couple extra games at Assembly Hall, or is that too early?
I think it's a little bit too early to tell because I don't know how the rest of the country is going to shake out, how the rest of the bubble is going to look, because I think we're going to have Indiana on the bubble come Selection Sunday, maybe right just in there, but until I see how other teams, who's on the bubble, who's not on the bubble, I can't really say NIT or NCAA tournament at this point.
Yeah, you might get your extra game in the form of first 4, IU having to play a extra game just to get into the field of 64 at this point. Because right now I believe KenPom have them sitting at 34 entering this game, and that's right on the borderline of the bubble. So if KenPom holds true at this point, they're going to fall even further, and depending on how this season goes, if we think they're a 500 Big Ten team, maybe a game above, around that range, maybe a game below even, and at that point it's going to put them right on that bubble, and it might come back to they have to win a couple games in this building to solidify an NCAA tournament bid.
Yeah.
There's no question that this early portion of the season has been full of ups and downs. Obviously, some easy teams, some difficult games. They've got 2 more cupcake games, for lack of a better term. What are we looking to see from Indiana in these cupcake games, in these games that they should be able to come out and win? What are the last things they need to work on?
Poor Nicholls State. Poor Nicholls State next Friday. If Qdoba were still offering the free meals for 100 points, I think they would be losing some money next Friday night because IU might just come out angry and just beat up on these next 2 teams. Also, Kennesaw State next Sunday IU plays, so I expect IU to just come out and have no trouble with these teams. I'd like to see the turnover still clear up. Obviously, you'd like to see somebody step up still. Maybe it is going to be Evan Gordon and be the solid pull-up shooter, someone to knock down 3-pointers for this team, and that's what I'm looking for out of these next 2 games.
I'm looking to see the communication on defense get better than it was this afternoon because I think that's one of the things I kept talking about in the first half, that it just wasn't there. It got better in the second half, but in order to beat Big Ten teams, you need to play full 40-minute basketball games, and you saw tonight that they didn't play, of course, perfect for that 40 minutes. They don't even need to play perfect, I should say, but they need to play consistent basketball, and I think that's something you're going to see against inferior opponents come later this week.
We'll have a little more idea on that as the season continues to progress. Unfortunately, we're left with a bitter taste in our mouths. Indiana again falling to Notre Dame today, 79-72 the final score. Hoosiers to 8-3 on the year. 2 more non-con before the Big Ten starts. Fellas, final thoughts before we send this thing off?
Before we send it off, just something I look at on the score sheet right in front of us. Hunter Perea only played 3 minutes, and I think in those 3 minutes he played pretty darn well, and I was surprised that he didn't see more action tonight. He went 1 of 1 from the field, a big dunk, got the crowd back in it, made 2 free throws.
Oh, Hunter time.
Hunter, exactly, and I think I'm surprised because Indiana was really struggling in post defense, and they didn't even really think to put Hunter in. I was surprised to see that with how well he did play in the limited minutes he had.
Yeah, Luke Fisher taking 10 minutes when I think more of those should have gone to Hanner, especially with Luke missing, going 0 for 3 from the floor, and all those being bunnies.
Yeah.
Or when you're a 6'11" guy, you got to be expecting contact on shots, and you got to knock down free throws, which he wasn't able to do. He wasn't even able to get to the line. Something else I saw earlier on the stat sheet that I meant to bring up. IU this season has been terrific at getting to the line. This is, I think, the first game where they've been absolutely blown out in terms of free throw shooting. Notre Dame got to the line 30 times, knocked down 23. IU just 16 times, but knocked down 13 of them. So that's something we haven't seen this year, where IU really struggles to get to the charity stripe.
It's time to waive the conspiracy theories with TV Ted roughing the game, isn't it?
That was fun. That was fun. TV Ted had a few moments today. IU fans were displeased with a few of them. But again, you can't blame the refs in a game like this. They never led, so when that's the rule, when you never lead, don't complain, because there's nothing to complain about, really. Fellas, awesome. I think we're good here.
We're perfect.
Awesome.
You're perfect. You guys are perfect.
For Sean
Really,
Nash.
that's not what you were saying before.
And for Will
No.
Schuckerman.
No.
I'm Pierce Cavanaugh. So long, travel well. See you folks on the other side. Thanks for watching.